She was from Boston, Massachusetts. She talked with a very strong Boston accent.
I thought you were Mark Wahlberg there for a
yeah.
minute.
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries, of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!
It's time for more Law Light, brought to you by Foreman Watson Holtry, FWHlegal.com. I'm here with PJ today, and we are in the library studio in the high-rise white brick edifice at 530 Frederica Street, and we're ripping ready and raring to go. What's up?
That sounded like you're ripping ready to go.
Ripping
raring to go. However it's
Howdy
said.
doody.
Yeah. I'm okay.
Fell asleep on the couch last night.
I did.
Heard.
I'm a little tired.
Yeah,
I had kind of a rough
got a glaze,
day yesterday. Just
glaze over your face. Man.
Yeah. I just had kind of a down day.
Down day. Well,
so
let's get you back up where you belong, okay? Pony up. We are I was in depositions all day on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. I was in mediation all day yesterday.
I noticed you were gone all day yesterday.
Yeah, and then so today I come back to a mailbox that's overflowing, an inbox that's overflowing, and there's no let up on the gas pedal. I've got 4 or 5 appointments today. So I'm not complaining about the work. Obviously, we are thankful for the work, but good times and busy times here at the old F-Dub.
Yep. So we won't see you this morning because you'll be reading emails.
That's right. And, well, I have a client at 9:30, and so we're going to lay this one on the tape, and we're going to get out of here.
That's what she said.
Yeah. Lay this one on the tape and get out of here. Did she say that?
She may have.
Okay, never heard her say that to me. Hey, so a couple of things real quick. We are in the middle of Teacher Appreciation and Educational Awareness Month, where we join efforts with several area media outlets and also some area businesses, and we just express our sincere thanks to teachers. All right, and so I saw pictures
like Miss Doris Burns.
How did you know about Miss Burns?
Because you talk about her on the radio.
Oh, okay.
I listen to 97X all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Great. That's super. Because you took me off. Okay. No, I saw pictures yesterday on Facebook of your boys all dressed and dapper and ready to go. You know, what's the name of your oldest son? It's
Logan.
I saw the red pants and the black, and it reminded me so much, PJ. I was in high school from 1984 to 1988, okay?
Okay.
And that was when Michael Jackson was in his heyday.
Yeah.
And he would wear those red pants and the black, zipper jackets and things like that.
Yeah.
And okay, so a couple of things I've noticed about kids' clothes right now. It is definitely 84 to 88-ish, okay?
Oh, yeah, it's come back around.
Okay, so my I call him my son, my stepson, Jackson, he wanted high-top tennis shoes, not regular tennis shoes, okay?
Right.
All right. So he's gone from wearing shoes like I wear, like runners, running shoes for casual stuff, to now wanting high-top tennis shoes. And it's so much. All of us, we wore the high-top tennis shoes, the bright color pants, parachute pants. I don't know if you remember those.
Oh, I remember those.
Yeah. Well, when I saw Logan, I was like, oh my God, we are going back with this what's
like a trend? This is the fad.
Yeah, and I was I couldn't help but smile. I was like, here we go,
Well, what's ironic is I call those his Michael Jackson pants.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, for real.
Okay,
so he ordered 2 pairs, and they both came in. One was a white pair of jeans like that, and they have all these like frayed parts, but also zippers that go across the legs.
Yes.
And then he, and for some reason, I don't particularly like the white ones. They just don't look right. But when he put the red ones on, I was like, dude, you look really good in those pants. And then I said, you know what? Those look a lot like Michael Jackson pants.
Yes.
Because they have like golden zippers going across them. And then, of course, I mean, he's at that age where he's consistently worried about how he looks and his hair and the style, and he has a very obscure idea. I get, and that's just it. Like, I'm still dressing like it's 1998, so I'll have like an undershirt and a button-up overshirt. So I'm like Angus, if anybody remembers that movie. And but like, so I don't know much about the fashion today, other than like what you said. It has kind of come full circle, and a lot of it does remind me of the 80s. But definitely, so Logan, yeah.
I just brought up a picture here, and Michael Jackson in red pants with zippers on them. I think this was from the Thriller video that he wore in the Thriller
I
video.
love Thriller, yeah.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was gonna say, and like his he's got a black shirt that's got red on it, so it can match his red pants, and then he has high top tennis shoes that are black and red, so it matches his pants and his shirt.
Right.
So
but he can only wear that outfit once a week.
Pretty much, yeah.
Right.
But he's got like 6 pairs of shoes, so he can
match his shoes.
Yeah, but I showed up at my mom's last week, and he had bought these 2 shirts, both with floral designs on them.
Right.
And one was like red. It was a black shirt, but it had these red roses all over it. Mm-hmm. I've never seen a shirt like it before, and it kind of threw me off a little bit because I wasn't used to seeing it. But I mean, if that's what he wants to wear,
creativity and wardrobe.
And then his other shirt was like this white shirt, and it has like flowers all over it. And honestly, I called it. I was like, "Yeah, your great grandmother had shirts just like that." And he didn't. Really, he was like, he was like, "Maybe I won't wear this shirt," because it did look a lot like the types of shirts that his great grandmother.
Did you see Amy's post for her kid's first day of school? Yeah. And you have Emily, who's wearing a Kiss T-shirt and has black boots with neon shoelaces. Okay, again, I mean, you can't get any more of how kids were dressing when I was in high school. When I moved to Louisville at the end of 1987, I remember going into the halls and seeing kids dressed with black boots with neon laces. I remember that.
Yeah.
And of course, Kiss T-shirts will never go out of style, right? I mean, they're worn by everybody. So anyway, exciting times. Back to school, new clothes, shiny new shoes. Everything is good for a few days, and then it's, I don't want to go to school anymore. So, however, that does not mean that that the teachers lose their energy and their passion, and that they're excited from day one all the way through the end, and their job is one that requires so much of them, and we're thankful for what they do.
Oh, absolutely.
Last week had Carolyn Greer with us, the theater teacher at Owensboro High School, and it was a great interview. And next week we're trying to line up getting a teacher coach in for the podcast. So I think that that'll be great. But what I wanted to do today was you had said you had a couple of stories from about teachers and things that teachers have done, or some things that just left a mark. And I am fortunate too to have had, and you kind of made mention of her. I had several teachers in my childhood that left a mark, and I had a couple of teachers that taught my own kids who were just went above and beyond every day to give their best to my kids. And so I thought that what we could do today is to kind of share some of those stories. One of the things that I think is important, and I don't know, did you check out Vincent had posted on our Facebook and YouTube and Instagram a video of Bart.
I've seen most of it. I haven't seen the whole thing.
So it's a really good video because it talks about how not only is Foreman Watson Holtree, want to stop and appreciate teachers like we're doing, but we also have a person that is uniquely equipped and experienced with education law. And Bart Darrell, who of course was the 5-year president of Kentucky Wesleyan College and is now president emeritus, but before that he was the son of 2 teachers, and when he became a teacher, when he became a lawyer, he migrated to working for school boards and representing teachers in cases where they would be brought up on some type of a charge or those types of things. And of course, Bart saw some of the bad sides of teachers who weren't doing their job right, but then there were those that were doing their job right and were being accused and needed defending, and just all kinds of issues that come with school boards. So because of that, we are in tune with what's going on in our school systems. Bart is involved. He is ever present for teachers and principals and giving them counsel and guiding them and just befriending them and encouraging them. And so, a lot of times what our lawyers are doing, people, don't know what we do behind the scenes and who we're trying to support and help and assist. And Bart's doing that in the field of education. So we're thankful to have him. And that video
absolutely
touches on that. And want to promote it. If anybody's listening and hadn't seen it, to go to Vincent did a great job on that video. It was a good video. So we want to put that out there. So anyway, I grew up in Pensacola, Florida. You've heard me tell some stories about that. And I had excellent education in my elementary school. Discipline was a lot different then. You could still get spanked if you were out of line. They could paddle your behind with a paddle as long as there was a witness and things like that. But my teachers were dedicated to their kids. To this day, I can still name kindergarten through 5th grade, and I can tell you stories about all of them. They were all excellent. My 2nd grade teacher was an African-American lady named Miss Stevens, and Miss Stevens was a forerunner for civil rights. And Miss Stevens, I went to a church that was all white, okay? And it was on the unfortunately white side of town, right?
Right.
And Miss Stevens, my father was a minister of a church, and my faith as a child was very important. Church was where I was all the time, and I would always talk about church to Miss Stevens. And one time Miss Stevens said, I want to come to your dad's church. Well, I as a kid immediately in my mind recognized that, well, I thought to myself, well, you would be the only African American there, you would, and unfortunately at that time we didn't say African American, you think, oh, you'd be the only black lady there, and, right. And so I remember when she said, I want to come to your church, I thought even in 2nd grade, that'll never happen. She won't ever come to my church. Well, she said she wanted to come. So the next Sunday rolls around, PJ, and I swear to you, it was thundering and lightning. Our church wasn't very big. There was a big window that kind of you could see out of. And at that time, the church had about 120, 130 people attending. It was thunder and lightning, pouring down rain. And I see a car coming up, I'm kind of watching, and church was just about to get started. And Miss Stevens gets out of her car, dressed to the nines, with an umbrella, and she was an elderly lady. In fact, she only taught 2 more years after I went through her 2nd grade class. And she came in, and she sat down right there in the middle of that church, and she worshiped in our church. And she came up and hugged on me afterwards, and she talked to my dad and talked to my mom, and she came and visited our church. Now, that's not as big a deal today, but I'm telling you, in Pensacola, Florida, which is in the Panhandle, right just on the tip of Alabama,
right,
that was a big deal in 1977. It was a big deal, and that lady walked in there, and showed me how important I was to her as a kid. And I've never I've never. That's when I realized that when I began to get old enough to understand the racial issues in the United States and the importance of it, I thought about that lady coming to my church to support me.
Right.
You know, and it meant the world to me. It meant more than she'll ever know, especially now as an adult looking back and understanding what she did. So that was a time that was in my mind where a teacher went above and beyond to make a statement of support and to cross racial lines in a time that it was very difficult not to do. So something that sticks out to me, where a teacher really met the call, you know.
Right.
So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It was something special to me. I'll never forget the image. I mean, of her walking in there with her umbrella, dressed beautifully, and so yeah, it meant a lot. So share a story or something that you know.
Well, I don't have a story as riveting as yours necessarily, but I think for me, it's the teachers that stick out the most in my mind have always been the ones who I guess saw something within myself and said, you really do have some kind of a talent, and they would talk to whether it was writing or visual storytelling or whatever the case was. So I had a lot of teachers like that were throughout my school career that really, I guess, tried to push me to be a better version of myself. Miss Greer was one of them. Going back into my earlier years, the probably the one that I remember is Marcia Moore. She was my 8th grade English teacher at Davis County High School. And what's funny is several of these teachers I'm still friends with today. Mm-hmm. Marcia's one of them. And, I can remember her always talking to me about, the writing process, how to make better characterizations, how to, come up with stronger narratives, things to try to avoid pitfalls and cliches and stuff like that. Because, I was very big into horror. So I actually still have some of the stories I wrote in her class, and one of them was called A Night at Taco Bell, about these a tray of tacos that gets hit by lightning and they come to life and starts like killing the patrons. So, and I got to read that one aloud in class because she really enjoyed it. So she let me stand up and read it. And then of course later on, Woody Maglinger was one of them. What's funny is, somehow, I guess it's because I switched from county to city schools. Mm-hmm. So I went from Davis County High School, and then my sophomore year went into OHS. Now, OHS is when you're supposed to take, like your sophomore year, you're supposed to take World Civ. And I didn't. Somehow, it slipped my itinerary, so I didn't take it. So when I went into my junior year, they said, look, you're going to have to take World Civ. Like it's a class you have to have. You have to have those credits. So as a junior, I had to take a sophomore class, and that was in Mr. Maglinger's class. And he was just so. Do you know
Yes,
what?
I know.
He's super charismatic, and he's really funny, and he's a great storyteller, and he himself is just a character that I remember so many quotes and things that he said in class that I anytime I'm trying to come up with like a character when I'm writing something, I'll emulate his enthusiasm and stuff because he's such an interesting guy. Jeff Jones is another one. He was my psychology teacher. He's no longer at OHS. Let's see who else. Tom Cox. He ran the video production department for obvious reasons. He was always pushing me when it came to doing, the visual video production stuff. So a lot of my thoughts and feelings on teacher appreciation come from teachers. Like I don't have a story like that.
Well, no, yeah, and you don't have to. I think it's great that somebody like you can go down, that quick and just name people, that have been at some point made a difference in your life as a student.
Right.
And all it takes is one positive experience for a student, and it can change their entire life. Just one experience.
Yeah.
And you've heard me talk about Doris Burns, and now Miss Burns, if somebody was to ask me from kindergarten all the way through law school, what one educator made the biggest difference on my life, I would say it was Doris Burns. She was my 4th grade teacher. Miss Burns was 6'3". She weighed about 200 pounds. She was from Boston, Massachusetts. She talked with a very strong Boston accent, like that, something like that.
I thought you were Mark Wahlberg there for a minute.
She was. Yeah, there you go. Hey, maybe I can act. Okay,
maybe.
Okay, so anyway, and let me tell you, she would tell parents at a meeting before school began that all of my students suffer from Burnsitis. And the parents are like, Burnsitis, they're like, yeah, they don't want to come confront Miss Burns, and so they suddenly get sick. Okay, and I'm telling you, she would strike the fear of the Lord in you when she was mad at you. She told me one time, and this probably her form of teaching would not be allowed anymore.
Right.
But you know what? To this day, the attention to detail and the don't stop until you're prepared mentality that I have, that you've seen,
right,
it came from that lady teaching me. She had so many sayings. Holtree, get over here immediately. If not, sooner. Okay? and she told me a number of times, I am going to use your head for a bowling ball.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you're right. I mean, just crazy, And but Miss Burns, what she did was, and looking back, I don't know how she did it, but she brought out a drive in all of her students, and which tells me that she was a fabulous person, because every student has a different personality. And you and I are two totally different people. And
right,
the way to motivate you to do your best is probably way different than the way to motivate me to do my best. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think like a lot of coaches make mistakes. Like they try to coach all of their kids the same way. And all the kids are different. And so the way you coach a kid up from one to the other is going to be different to get the maximum results. You've heard me tell you that you coach, just coaching girls is different than coaching boys. If a girl believes in you, she'll do whatever you ask. A boy, you've got to pit him against another boy. You've got to pit him again because he wants to prove he's better.
Right.
And it's just totally different. So but my point was, Miss Burns had 20, 25 kids in her class, right? And for her, every one of those students excelled by the end of the year because she put within them this incredible drive to do your best on every project, and that was where I got you've heard me say, is that your best? Is that the best you can do? Is that the best we can do on this? Because that was the question she always came to me with. Travis, is that your best work? And if you're honest, a lot of times you ain't want to be doing, yeah, that's my best work, because you don't want to do it again, right?
Right.
But if you're really honest with yourself, you're like, you look at it and you're like, no, I could do better. And when it comes down to that, I mean, when you make your bed, is that the best? When you wash a dish, is that the best? And the reason was to take pride in your work. And you can take pride in it when you've done your best. And so, boy, Miss Burns won Teacher of the Year award a number of times in Escambia County, was just above and beyond. And she was another
Sounds
one.
well deserved.
She was another one, though, PJ, where she would come to your events. Like if you played ball, if you did, there she would show up, and her husband was Bob. And poor Bob, he was always getting drug around all this stuff. He was a great guy. But, I mean, how many times do you know your teacher's husband because your teacher's husband is showing up with her to your events, your ball games, your things like that? I am grateful for her. And to this, until she passed away, when I would go back home, I would take time to go see Miss Burns. Until she retired, I'd go see her at the school. And then once she retired, I'd go see her at her house because she meant that much to me.
Right.
So just a fabulous person. And the thing is that there are still teachers like that. And there's some that unfortunately may be doing it for a paycheck. But I'm telling you, a majority of them care about their kids.
Look, Connor goes to Estes.
Right.
And Estes has a ton of great, really passionate teachers that truly do care about their students. So I have a lot of great stories from even Logan, because Logan went to Estes as well. So I have a lot of great stories about majority of their teachers. But I had a funny interaction with a teacher here recently. So we took Connor to his orientation at Estes.
Right.
And of course, he's
For
going
this school
into
year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's going into 5th grade, which the 5th grade classes are in a whole other part of the school. And I don't know the name of the teacher, but we were getting ready to leave. Connor was playing on his phone, and there was a teacher standing in the doorway. It wasn't Connor's teacher; it was the teacher next door. And she was like, "Hey, can I see your phone?" And he goes, "No." And she goes, "Why not?" He goes, "Well, you wouldn't be able to access it anyways because it uses facial recognition. You have to have my face." And without missing a beat, she goes, "Well, I know how to solve that. All I got to do is if I just take your face off and put it over mine, then I'll be able to access your phone." And Connor just kind of looks at her, and she looks at me, and she winks. She goes, "Your dad knows what I'm talking about. He knows the movie." And I'm like, it really threw me off. And I looked at Connor, and I go, "She's talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You haven't seen that yet, but give us some time, and then we'll show it to you." And she started laughing. I don't remember ever having this is like the first time I've ever had an interaction with her. She goes, "Your dad's the horror guy," so I knew he'd know what I was talking about. And I found it very, very interesting, like the direction that she would go is a Texas Chainsaw Massacre joke about cutting my child's face off so she could
substituting it so she can access
his phone.
Okay, you know.
Now, there's probably some parents that would hear that and become disturbed. She gained cool points in my book. So.
Yeah. Again, hey, okay, so that's a perfect example. If my child had said something like that, okay, no, you can't access it because you have to have my face to access it, right? She wouldn't have said the same thing to me. She may have, so what I'm saying is that's an example of what I just talked about with Miss Burns. Every kid and their background is different, and when teachers take time to notice that and to know it, they can make a difference. Like, they'll make some comment. My kids always got comments like, "Well, I better stay in line because, I'll get sued by your dad," and they'd wink at you, they'd give you that, and it's just teachers that take the time to know the parents or to know of the parents and know what's important to them so that, that's what, these teachers have so many different human beings that are looking at them every day.
Yeah.
And let's face it. I thought about this yesterday. Jax came home from school. I was working out in the garage. Missy was cleaning up our kitchen from where we'd had it remodeled. And, we're talking to Jax about his first day of school. We're asking him what his favorite thing was. But let's face it. We spent yesterday with Jax, right? Probably 2 or 3 hours, of which quality time of that was maybe an hour while we ate and cleaned up and talked to him. That teacher of his, right, Miss Abney, 3rd grade teacher, Eastview Elementary, she got 6 hours with him. And she'll get 6 hours today. And she'll get 6 hours, tomorrow.
Right.
And we're getting 2 or 3 hours of our kids' time of the day. Now, that should tell you how important it is what they're doing.
Oh, yeah,
And
absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And I anyway, it puts things in perspective.
Yeah.
It really does. I do have while we're sharing some funny, I have a funny story about when I was a kid under Miss Burns' tutelage. I had a girl in my class named Kay Penix, And Kay was a pretty little girl, and I liked her. I thought she was really pretty. And Kay it was just in that time where boys are starting to, notice girls.
Right.
4th grade, because 5th, then you go on into middle school. So it's just on the cusp.
You're a lot
of
less
right?
worried about cooties.
Right. I thought she was pretty. I always wanted her to invite me to her house to jump on her trampoline, but it never happened. Anyhow,
I'm sorry.
Anyhow, we had a PE teacher whose name was Mr. Vaughn. Well, Mr. Vaughn had just graduated from college, okay?
Yeah.
And he comes to our school, his first job out of college. And Mr. Vaughn is like a athletic, tan, young guy, right? Like,
right.
And
that was Mr. McCullum when I was in school.
Okay, so we're sitting at lunch, and I say to Kay, I was like, something kind of flirtatious. I can't remember. And she goes, well, I think Mr. Vaughn's cute. Like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at her, and I got mad. I was like, what? I got mad at her for saying that. And so I turn around, and with everything in me, I call her the worst word I knew. I called her, ready for this?
Oh, I can't wait.
A homosexual. I didn't know what it meant. I had no idea. I had no idea what it meant. But I knew it was a word that we didn't talk about at my house.
Right.
Right? We were not to use that word at my house. So I looked at her and I said, Kay, well, you're a homosexual. Okay. And she didn't know what it meant, but she certainly was able to pronounce it and go to Miss Burns, 6'3", Bostonian, and tell Miss Burns, while we were at lunch, Travis called me a homosexual. And Miss Burns says, what? Travis called. So Miss Burns, hallway. I was like, so I go out to the hallway and she goes, did you call Penix a bad word? I was like, no. She goes, you're lying. She goes, so I have to come clean, right?
Right.
What did you call her? Miss Burns, I called her a homosexual. So Miss Burns says, ready for this? Classic teaching moment. Holtree, if you can spell homosexual, I won't take you to the principal's office. I couldn't spell it. I had no clue how to spell it.
Did you at least try?
So I'm on my way. No, H. So we're on our way to the principal's office, walking with Miss Burns. She's taking me. She has to get somebody to watch her class, right?
Right.
So she's taking me to the principal's office, and she stops me right outside his door, and she says, only a fool would call someone something they cannot spell. Now, when you think about the wisdom in that, it's like we call people names all the time haphazardly and not even thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
And as a 4th grader, I thought about the fact that was so stupid to call somebody. So I didn't even know what it meant. I just knew it was a bad word, and I called her that, right? And so a teaching moment, and she said, now you're going to go in there, and I got my discipline, and it was not good it wasn't fun for me. And I've never forgotten calling Kay Penix that. To this day, I had no clue what it meant, and I shouldn't have ever called her that, and I shouldn't have, certainly, but when I couldn't spell it and the whole embarrassment of the situation, Miss Burns, perfect teaching opportunity, marched me to the principal's office to take my discipline for that. So that's one of my moments. Yeah. I got in bad trouble for that one. But anyhow.
Did they at least explain to you what it meant?
They did. They told me the reason that was not something nice to call her. Number one, it was absolutely not true, and number two, that it's a word that has negative connotations and shouldn't. They told me what it meant, and so then I knew.
Right.
But I remember having a long discussion with my parents about it when I got home and all of this. So it ended up being another life lesson, but because it was dealt with properly by that teacher. Immediately it registered my brain. My brain was mature enough to understand how silly is it to call somebody something you can't even spell or
Right.
you don't even know, and so yeah.
I think we all do that, though. I think we all learn words that we don't know
right
what they
and
are.
you just throw 'em around.
I grew up in a time where me and my friends called each other certain words that get you canceled nowadays, and you don't think about what it really means or what it is. So but that is funny.
Yeah, that was one of my. I got spanked a number of times in elementary school. I wasn't a bad student, but I just had the knack to find the like opportunities to be like do something stupid. You know what I'm saying? I was a good student. I made great grades but. I'll share one more since we're on Education Week. Times have changed. People do not let their kids do what my parents let me do. I was in kindergarten, which means I was 5 years old. And have I told you the story about walking to class and seeing the boy beat up on the little girl, and I knew I couldn't do something about it, so I made up a big story. Have I told you that story?
Yes, yeah. You have talked about it on the podcast.
Right, on the podcast, right. So I mean, I won't go back through it then.
Did you ever get paddled
by my parents or at school?
At school.
Oh yeah,
I did. Yeah,
yeah.
That tells you how old I am,
right?
Because I got paddled with it had holes in it, so it hurts more.
So did mine. I've got paddled several times at school. Okay. I will say that the funniest one was when in 7th grade when I poked the holes in the bottoms of the cups in the drink machine and then put them back up in there. and so I stood there and watched kids put their quarter in. It was quarter, high C. You would hit which flavor high C you wanted.
Right.
The cup would drop, the ice would drop, the syrup, and then the fluid, right? And so the kids went in there and they'd put their quarter in there, and sure enough, they'd pull up a cup, and all it had was ice in it because I'd put a hole in them. I had stuck a pencil up through the bottom of all those cups and then put them back because I could get my arm was skinny and get it up in there.
Right.
And so boy went. And here's what was terrible about that situation was my dean. We didn't have a principal in middle school. They called him dean. There was the dean of students, and then you had the dean of boys and the dean of girls. And my 7th grade dean was also my basketball coach. And so I didn't only get whacked by the paddle, right? When I got to basketball practice, I ran my tail off while the other guys were going through plays.
Funny.
I was over there huffing and puffing. So yeah, I got spanked. I think that may have been the last paddling I got. It was in 7th grade.
See, I only got paddled once. And my mom did not appreciate somebody else hitting her child.
Now, did they witness it? Did they have and when I got mine, they had to go get two other teachers, and you got smacked right on the butt, and then the teachers signed like this little form saying that they had witnessed it and that that it was on the rumpus, not anywhere else. That it was 3. They documented it almost like a doctor's appointment.
I don't remember the paperwork, but I do know that her secretary had to come in. It was Miss Newman. It was at Highland Elementary.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you ever
really.
Yeah, it was Miss Newman.
Because that's where all my girls went.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't remember. See, I was a really hyperactive kid, so I don't remember what it was that I had done, but it was bad enough that. I think what it was is I got sent to the principal's office a couple times, and then they were like, "Look, if you come back here, you're gonna get paddled." And I was like, "Yeah, okay." And the thing was I was a spoiled kid, so I never got spanked at home, and I was poor. No offense to my mom, but I was poorly disciplined. So I got away with murder at home, and so I thought I could get away with murder at the school, and on that third time, I went. I ended up going, and the assistant came in, so she had to witness. I do remember that. I did fight it, but I lost, and it was 3 swats.
3 spanks. Yeah.
But I do remember the paddle because it looked like a cutting board that had like holes.
So that's
through
so they
it.
Can pick up the momentum.
Right. Now it wasn't a cutting board, but because it was thinner, it was a paddle.
But it looked like.
But it was probably like half an inch thick.
Yeah.
And it was solid wood. Except for those holes.
My dad tells a story about he was in class when he was a kid. They were in high school, and the teacher was an old grumpy guy. And my dad his school was K through 12 all in one building.
Oh wow!
And so Dad said that somebody had. Dad knew who it was, and I can't remember now who it was. He tells the story. Had literally put a tack in the teacher's chair, and the teacher sat down on it. And my dad said made a face like that hurt, but didn't really let on.
Right.
And so people are chuckling and giggling because And so my dad says this. The teacher looked right at me, and I need the person that did this to come clean about doing it, or else everyone in the class will suffer consequences. And he's looking right at my dad, and my dad was like, and nobody stepped up. And my dad was sitting there thinking to the guy, look, man, you'd better fess up. We're all about ready to go down on this ship, and you better fess up. He goes, I'm going to say one more time that the student who put the tack in my chair can come clean, or else the whole class will be disciplined. And they will not like the discipline. And my dad's sitting there thinking, how can this guy not fess up,
Right.
And the teacher's looking right at my dad because thinks my dad did it. And so finally this little girl says, it was so-and-so. It was so-and-so. And everybody, was it so-and-so? Was it so? Yes, it was. Everybody ratted him out. So he asked the boy, and the boy finally admits to it. So he brings him up in front of the class, and he stretches his arm and got the paddle right there, and he's about ready to hit him. He goes, I'll tell you what. He said, does anybody in here want to do this? And my dad raised his hand and said, yeah, I'll whack him. I'll spank him. And so the teacher gives the paddle to my dad, and he goes, now, he said, there's only one condition. If you don't spank him as hard as I would spank him, then you get a SWAT too. And my dad was like, fine, high school kid. So my dad just rears back. He says, I hit that boy with all I had. He said, I smacked him hard. And the teacher said, that just wasn't quite hard enough. And he said, bend over. And my dad took one. And my dad to this day thinks that teacher still thinks that he had something to do with that tack being in his chair, and that was his way of getting him back.
I think the teacher was a sadist.
I do too.
That's what
I'm glad I didn't go to that school.
Yeah, really.
I've heard lots of stories. That's not a way to end Teacher Awareness Day. But anyway, it's been a good time. We need to bring this to a conclusion and wrap it up. To all of our teachers in all of our schools here locally, we are grateful and thankful for the work that you do, and just continue to do your good thing. All right. PJ, anything else?
No, I think we've pretty much covered it.
Some good stories. Good stuff. All right. Well, until next time, this has been Law Lite, brought to you by Foreman Watson Holtry, fwhlegal.com. We're here for all of your legal needs, even with education law. We are uniquely prepared for those cases, so give us a call. You can look us up at fwhlegal.com on all platforms of social media, and until next time, y'all have a great day.
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery of a sham, of a mockery of a travesty of two mockeries of a sham.
If we are to have faith and justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!